Okay, good. All right. So that right there in a nutshell is why Black Lives Matter is important. You guys got to see an in-depth and personal of what it looks like to be just to be, you know, in the community and, you know, somebody that they think that you could be determined as a throwaway, you know, and there's millions of us out here with the same position. I just happened to say enough of it, you know, and I stood up and I just wasn't going to be treated like that anymore. And this is, you know, this is just one of the stories. And this, like I said, this took me 4 years to make, and this actually was done way before the eruption in Ferguson and Baltimore. But the same systematic issues is what go on, because they were about to riot there in Albany with that press conference with the police, and there was some people in there that, you know, that quelled it, but, you know, I wanted to see them get upset and get mad and do some positive stuff, you know, and it took another 2 years after that for the Black Lives Matter to start, you know, because that was in 2011, and I think what was Michael Brown, was that 2013 or 14? That was 2014. Yeah, so that was 2012. That incident happened before Trayvon. It happened in Albany. So that just gives you a timeline on when these things, when it happened. And, you know, it's getting better, you know, but, you know, once you outspoken like that and you're an activist, they do certain things to you know, shut you up. Like, anybody following what's happening in South Dakota? You guys following what's happening? You know how they just shut down their space where they can't do Facebook and promote what they're doing and things like that. This is what people, this is what the powers that be do. So it just makes it harder for you to get the issue out. Thank God for social media, because if it wasn't for social media, you guys wouldn't have known about, you know, the Mike Brown, the Eric Garners, you know, the Tamir Rices. And it's just happening over and over. But this is the thing, it's been happening for decades. But nobody's been talking about it until now. You know, before it was slavery, they was lynching, you know, what they did to Emmett Till. You know, what was going on during the civil rights in Mississippi and Alabama and Florida, and, you know, Rosewood burning down whole towns. You know, there's the Black Wall Street. I don't know if you guys know about that, about Tulsa, where they had a whole community that was rich and was doing things and was being empowered, and, you know, they didn't like it. So they bombed it. It's the first time our own nation bombed a town, you know what I'm saying, because they didn't like what was going on, you know. So, any questions?
Right.
Did they ever find that video footage of Nick's shooting?
Yeah, they found it, but, you know, they cut it up. You know what I'm saying? You know how they do. They cut it up, and, you know, they didn't show that it was grainy, you know what I'm saying? And it was just another, yeah, they found it, and, you know, they didn't release it for months. Sort of like what they did with Laquan McDonald in Chicago, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same issue. Then there's another incident that happened like a year and a half ago in Albany where they tased this guy, and he had issues, mental issues. And instead of them coming up to him and asking him questions, they were like, "Where are you going?" And he was just going to the store, you know, get some cookies and milk. True story. And they ended up tasing him. They tased him to death. So, and they don't, you know, want to admit their wrongdoings. You know, it's hard to get the police to admit that, you know, they're wrong and to convict them. When we know, I mean, you can have video footage of them doing certain things and they get off, you know. So why do you think people are getting upset, you know? Why do you think what happened, like what, you know, this film has been out, then it came up again. It happened in Minneapolis, it didn't happen in Baton Rouge. And then what you seen was the result was what happened in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? And if it continue, I mean, there's going to be people that's going to get mad who are mentally unstable that's going to, you know, fight back. Anybody else?
Yes.
As a young person, what's the best way to like make change within this movement?
As a young person?
Yeah.
Join one of join something. There is as a white person, I'm going to say this. There's white allies. There's white allies that we did action in Ithaca where they blocked the police station, and it was interesting to me because I wanted to see if any of them got arrested, and of course they didn't. They, what I'm saying. I was like, okay, But Surge, standing up for racial justice and start your own chapter of that, and march with them.
I'm actually biracial, but
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I recognize that I have like the visual appearance of white privilege, so I kind of use that as an advantage to like advocate.
Do you? Well, more power to you, sister. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. You use what you got. You know what I'm saying? This is sort of like what's going on in the football world where people are protesting the anthem and people are getting upset. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's a stage, that's a platform, to do these things. When other things fail, you know what I'm saying? You have to do something, and I don't get where people, because I wrote something on my Facebook, and I want to read this to you, because it dealt with what Colin went, but and you have to read this quote to put it in perspective, read this quote that Martin Luther King wrote, and what he wrote was this, and he was in the Birmingham jail when he wrote this, and I put it on my Facebook because I found it kind of unique. To all those who have a problem with the most recent acts of protest, you need to read what Martin Luther King wrote in Birmingham jail. He said, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in this stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who's more devoted to order than to justice, who peers a negative peace, which is absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with you with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute understanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. So what he's saying is, it's kind of self-explanatory. Those who say you're on your side don't agree with your methods and say, why are you protesting? Why are you doing that? You got this, you got that. You know what I'm saying? And when you speak out, they don't want you to speak out in that way. So, when is the best time? When is it the right time for me? When you don't get to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to make that decision when I stand up for my justice. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Native Americans are doing right now in Standing Rock. That's what the Black Lives Matter movement is about. That's what, I guess, Occupy, because we started this with Occupy, was supposed to about, but it brought you guys a social consciousness. Yes, ma'am.
I just saw on Facebook about the football player. Everybody was complaining so much, and they were saying, why don't we teach our children to care about people instead of caring about pledges?
Well, that's true. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I think in the 60s where we're headed towards that, but then they hit you with the war on drugs, and that kind of built the prison system up, to where it's at. Reagan kept that up, so that right there is, something that we need to discuss. We need to have more of these discussions. Those of you who came and stayed, I appreciate it. I know they're trying to get this room here in a minute, huh? They're trying to kick us out. But you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
5:30.
I'm sorry that the film kept stopping. And because I'm a poor filmmaker, I do have copies for sale. And they're.
How's your friend? How are you doing?
My mother's in the nursing home. I'm trying to get back to Albany. She has Alzheimer's. She's becoming very combative. My mother was a sweet lady. She's cussing up a storm. I've never heard her use words that she's been using lately. I'm like, but who is that? And I'm like, and that's what happens, you know what I'm saying? And you just want to be able to take care of those that you love, you know what I'm saying? And I think we need to be more community-minded, than what we are. But it's getting better. I wish I could do more for her. And I will be able to hopefully once I win the Oscars, my next one. I'm doing a new movie called Out of the Muck, which deals with a lot of issues that we're doing. Deals with Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Are Watching God, same place that it's come from, Harvest of Shame, and the NFL football players actually come from this area where my family's from. So that's what I'm working on now. So hopefully, this right here scared people. It came out at a time that they didn't want to talk about it. And then they started burning stuff. Now we want to talk about it, right? Because they don't want to, what I'm saying? It's like, okay, what did they say? They say rioting and all that is what? It's the voice of the unheard, right? So you're not hearing, do you hear me now? Basically. Right?
All right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Mr. McKinley.
Yep.